It's day 71, and welcome to 365 Days Towards Racial Change. My name is Tomlin's Knife back, and I am glad to see you one more time. 71 straight days. We are just moving along. Chug it, chug it, chug it, chug. Yeah. Think about the slaves that during harvest time or some peak time in the season, they went 7 days a week, a few months straight, just driven, and then even after those times when a slave master thought they were sitting around too much, like they were eating free food and lodging and all this stuff, they'd send them out to do other, maybe more skilled labor. They're going to get all the return on that investment, that living investment, as they can. Treat it right, it heals itself, reproduces. Yeah. Today's John Deere tractor's got nothing on a black slave way back. Yeah, so we're looking at black issues here. Here in America, white issues, we intersect all kinds of cultures and races here, and just talk about a whole broad spectrum of things here today. We'll get to our subject. We're in a big hurry. But our forum here, while I'm here talking into this computer, is I want to tease out two thoughts. As this project continues, it refines itself and focuses, and I found myself, I've landed on two primary issues. The first issue has two veins. First vein is, does the black mindset of slavery, those issues still permeate and has it propagated itself from generation to generation? And conversely, has the white mind of entitlement, privilege, propagated itself through generation to generation, and all the other races and cultures in between? And that brings us to, how we mentally perceive wealth and resources in America. That brings me to the second part. That's very important. One of Dr. Anderson's biggest burden. I'll tell you about him more in a moment. But do blacks understand wealth? Do we understand money? How money works? Are we just meant to labor all our lives? Hopefully our boss takes care of us and we kind of live well for the last few years of our lives, and being able to maybe travel or work less. I was brought up under that system, and I'm kind of on the cusp of that, and I'm finding out that my mind has to be totally divorced of that. That is not how American society works in America. It hasn't for probably decades now. America has been moving aggressively against that. Americans need to be much more independent about how they secure a future and even a present, working paycheck to paycheck. Got to be much more creative, and understanding part of the success, though, will come from blacks understanding the Federal Reserve. If we are the type that watches news to any degree and sees a stock ticker or hear reports from the Fed moving things 0.25%, 0.5%, we need to understand how that impacts and has an exponential impact on financial life in America when you say 0.5%, 0.25% increase, decrease. That means a whole lot. That little Just them saying those little words makes corporations and money, banking explode or implode. You know, blacks don't understand. A lot of Americans don't understand that, but blacks are ignorant on the nth level on on those issues. We need to be educated financially, and that's just one aspect about knowing, understanding, learning the financial game properly. So that's my two things. Those are two things that I've kind of grown out of this 71 days of hanging out with y'all. First, I want to introduce you. Dr. Claude Anderson is my inspiration. I stumbled onto him through a mutual friend of ours, and she turned me onto his videos. My jaw dropped. This is what it's one of those things that this is what you've been looking for. I immediately ordered three of his I would say, most prominent books. I only say that because there are only three I bought. He's got more, though. He still tours and talks about these issues much better than I can. But I want you to get these books. First is a Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Black Labor, White Wealth, The Search for Power and Economic Justice. We reference these books, so it's important that you get them. So you know what I'm talking about. You might have a different take on this stuff. And finally, his national plan to empower Black America, Powernomics. And we are presently going through a series. Chapter 7 is political action steps for us Black folk. Very important. And get the text so you can follow along. Also, we get into a fictional account of slave life and Black identity, white identity in America. Uncle Tom's Cabin, awesome book. I'm not surprised it's not more widely read. It's probably, I bet you there are copies of this in a lot of American homes, but like the Bible, it's probably not fully read and understood. It was number 2 behind the Bible when it came out in the mid-1800s. Harriet Beecher Stowe, white female abolitionist, wrote the text. I'm almost finished, but we're just walking through. We were stretching it out over the year. I'll tell you this. I bet you if you got that book, you wouldn't put it down. It's entertaining. I believe she gives us a peek at some of the less talked about aspects of Black slave life in America. Very important work. Behind me, you see I'm supporting the hashtag #UsToo movement. I think they're a response to the hashtag #MeToo movement. Hashtag USTOO. Black women are there discussing, conversing. Of course, it's an open forum as well. Black Enough, BLAGGENUF. I check in there once in a while. I don't participate. I'm not big of an online guy. This YouTube thing is the most, this 71 days is the most internet social thing I've done since the advent of the internet. So who knows where it goes, but I don't like being plugged in like people on their phone all the time. You're on your phone right now, ain't you? Just raise your hand if you're on the phone. It's okay. It's okay. That a very wise young woman clued me in that we learn better when we're fiddling with something anyway. So enjoy your phone or whatever you're doing. Political. We're in a political action steps series. We're on number 10. We just got a couple days to go. Thanks for bearing with me. I believe I've done this before. I didn't check my notes. All I know is that I am getting more focused on what goes on here you know, if I've done this before, I'm pretty sure I have now that I've kind of I see parts highlighted again. But you see, like, we get overviews maybe a month or so ago, and then we get even more myopic and focused as we get move along in the year, which is appropriate. And next year is an election year, so it's going to be good, especially these political issues, to review this stuff and revisit it every once in a while, getting more focused, maybe respond to some current events, things like that. So today is forming a black national independent party about withdrawing from the Democratic and Republican Party completely. Those two parties, they don't really, their ideologies no longer are as defined as they were previously. I won't pretend to know them. All I know is that, like Dr. Anderson kind of points out, especially with quid pro quo, is that politics is just about getting wealth and resources. You know, those names are just window dressings, right? You might see a commentator say, well, historically, our Republicans and so forth and whatnot, maybe a more wealthier business class was associated with that. And the Democrats might be representative of being like more of the people, working man, blue collar class. But that's no longer, those things are no longer true. What you have is whichever group is getting the most access to wealth and resources um, determines the character of the party and who they're representing, you know. So there's no, some of the old distinctions between Democrat and Republican have gone away. Initially, coming out of slavery, blacks would migrate towards that Republican side. It was a Republican oriented United States that freed the slaves, so naturally they gravitated towards that party. But the whites of that party migrated, did white flight out of there into the Democratic Party. Historically, there seems to be a little bit of a lull, void between 1930s and 1940s as blacks make some decisions. They start coming over to the Democratic Party, and you have white flight back to the Republicans. So that's just some framework there about how malleable these political parties can be. So, Dr. Anderson, he's saying, complete withdrawal from both parties, make a black party, and if, since our numbers are not overwhelming, we need not worry about the numbers. See, blacks don't need to worry about it. We're so worried about getting a positive result that we don't get out there and fail. Let's get out there and fail as well. I'm guilty of that in my personal life. Being so cautious and whatnot. We got to be wisdom. You don't just run out there into some project willy-nilly without doing some research. But come on, black folks. And so we're going to have to eventually take our stand if any of this comes to fruition. It's still we're still accommodating each other to the degree that blacks don't rise up exclusively and explicitly for their needs, and they don't get their needs exclusively and explicitly met. as far as participating in the wealth and resources of America. But other groups come and like a hermit crab, they take on the black garb, take the rhetoric, appear abused, marginalized, mistreated, and once they get their momentum, they cast off that persona, that association, and stand on their own. They do this time and again, and blacks time and again support that type of behavior. You're going to hear this in the next couple of days too. Blacks doing that. Listen, if we're not going to get what we need or want by behaving that way, then I'd rather us not get what we need or want by at least behaving differently. You know, that seems more expedient to me. So I think I said it yesterday maybe or previously. Whites, the parties don't matter anymore because the white majority is getting their needs met, holding their leaders accountable. The politicians, to a large degree, deliver on their promises to the white majority, right? So blacks need to get on top of that, get on board with that. He mentions the Democratic Leadership Council. It was an organization that ministered to white needs and politics, if you will. I didn't go into a big study of it, but what you have is white folks constantly creating committees, councils, organizations, associations, cliques, as black Americans start to kind of rise up. And black, it's one reason why blacks are going to have a hard time getting in front of this thing and stop having to be about white majority doling out these benefits when they want to. Because the whites are very wise. They use data, census, all these things to keep their fingers on the pulse of what's going on in minority and black America. And as they see the proper compensations and adjustments being made so that these black groups and minorities can rise up, and then suddenly the whites have a council, association, and all that. And it's all, it's an exclusionary procedure to keep blacks marginalized. You know, the goal, just keep us there, keep blacks as a consumer class in need of welfare, guidance. They keep us in ignorance. That's why I said at the top of the piece, we need to educate ourselves about financially relevant views. I've got books. I'm finding a lot of information out there. What's funny is the education. It's where the education we need is not hidden someplace. It is hidden in plain sight, out in the open, easily accessible. And I'm not talking about the internet. I'm talking about books that have hard facts, credible authors, and these resources are available and will tell us exactly how we got to where we are. You know? So that's a problem. So back to the Democratic Leadership Council and any other group. Us black folks need our response to that, and that's makes being exclusionary, for blacks being exclusionary, even more imperative for us as a community. As long as we're aligned with someone else, then we're just at the mercy of waiting for that group to get theirs, and we get the leftovers all the time. We need to come apart and be our own entity, so to speak. And we need layers of protection. I'm talking business jargon there, Have our own entity protected, but even have layers in front of that. That's basically what white folks are doing. Remember, America is a business. It's a huge corporation. The president is the CEO. It's very basic. I like that. Don't worry about morality and gays and marriage and all these political hot buttons that are used by politicians. It's about wealth, resources, running a business. The business is called the United States of America. It should have C Corp, S Corp, LLC. It should actually have all the corporate possibilities after it. That's what the United States of America is. So these associations and councils and groups, these white groups, are an escalation of white power, white entitlement. When you see them form, you want to question what's black participation in those groups. Beware political sambos. You're going to get pushed back, and this is going to come up in the next couple of days as well, of the blacks who are ashamed of blacks being empowered and moving with some certainty and security, authority, stuff like that. Steve Harvey continually comes up as my example when he told Monique that we don't do that, implying that black folk have a place and there's a process and a time because we're black. No. Don't do that. Don't fall for that. First off, we're human beings that have the same abilities, capabilities of anyone else on the planet. We just lack opportunity, and we are marginalized deliberately, right? There's a deliberate process that has blacks, the majority of blacks, in the place they are now. So political sambos are those men and women who will publicly discredit our efforts, resist providing support, because we look too threatening, and we don't appeal to whiteness. And I've said this many times before. It's like we were lynched, robbed, raped, enslaved, whipped, worked to death, without accommodations, without proper payment for our labor, our inventions in industry were secured by white masters, all these things. Yet we have to look non-threatening to a public and a nation that just destroyed us. But they're out there, they're in place, and they have power. So beware to, be ready to answer them, because they are going to rise up if we show we're so too much strut, if our heads held too high, so to speak. Too much pride, black pride is going on. You're going to find that pushback from the black Sambos. Those are the people, black people, who really, they've done well. They've ascended the ladder. They're established financially and stuff like that. You don't hear me. well-off black folks complaining about black issues and stuff like that, and making videos, stuff like that. For the most part, you know, I take Dr. Anderson as a man of means, which surprises me. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if he is a man of means and whatnot. You got to check him out, but I'm impressed that he takes the time and to have a burden for black folks. He even goes, he's administering some court cases around reparations for black folks. He's not a political Sambo, right? Um, but watch out for those who are. They're already in place, not hard to find. I remember I was at a gathering some months ago, last year, 2018, and I was working at a table, giving information, literature. Black man walked in, well dressed and all that. Never gave me an eye look, you know, and all that. But I said, well, maybe he's a member of this club that I was at doing this activity, or participates in some way. And it was kind of it was an informal gathering, but you know, casual, business casual. So him being in a three-piece suit was not out of order in the context of what was going on. Anyway, I happened to be walking through a room, and so they were announcing him and introducing him to the public as a politician, black man. So I was like, I wasn't surprised that the black man was a politician, but his deliberate avoidance of me, because I'm dressed down, I'm casual in jeans and whatnot, and I guess I obviously was not worth his attention. That's the kind of attitude. Because I didn't speak to him, and because I'm put off from him not acknowledging me, I'm making this classification as Sambo, but I don't know for sure. Um, but anyway, that would be the kind of behavior you would expect from a political Sambo. And finally, we need, I've just mentioned this before, we need real celebrations, holidays. You know, we got a month, we got a birthday, Dr. King's birthday in there and whatnot. Well, we don't have a Cinco de Mayo where there's parades and the streets closed and there's a flag. Now, we need a flag. What's our flag? You know, we need to come up with a flag. That'd be a good start. You know, a black flag. Hispanics love their flags. Puerto Ricans got their flags. Mexico has a flag. The United States has a flag. A flag means some blacks don't have a flag, not black Americans. Native Americans have flags and um, poles and things, headdress, you know, things that really distinguish them. You know, so anyway, we need holidays. We need national debates, more conferences. The 60s was probably really good for that. Nation of Islam, SNCC, and the other groups that were having some mass gatherings. We don't see much of that. I do see advertisements for black conventions and such, but it's sure not newsworthy. You know, it's not. I don't see anything on CNN, C-SPAN, national network news, local news. That's the point. You know, once these things become much more public and transparent, then we know we've reached a milestone. Having reached it, we need to keep that toehold and lay a foundation and work upwards from there. So thanks. That's day 71, forming national uh, black independent parties withdrawing from Republican and Democratic influences. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. That's 365 days towards racial change. I'll see you tomorrow.